I don't think anyone would disagree with me if I said that Nintendo has been kind of spoiling us when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom as of late. This is what usually happens as a first-party game's release date draws near, but it feels like they're really trying to make up for the years of silence lately. And hey, who am I to complain? I absolutely adore all that I've seen of the new mechanics, new locations, the story implications, and so much more. I've been hyper-analyzing the trailer so much in my spare time that it's not even funny. If you're interested in seeing a video like that, by the way, please let me know. But today, even after all we've seen in the trailers, there's still quite a bit that isn't technically confirmed, despite seeming so from the trailers. So I wanted to compile 5 things that, while aren't 100% confirmed to be happening, but likely will anyway, this will kind of serve as my pre-release wish list for Tears of the Kingdom. I think it'll be neat to come back to this after the game is out to see how much has actually been included. So with that being said, if you're interested in more Zelda content from me, liking this video is the best way to let me know, and subscribing to the channel will make sure you don't miss a single thing. It's free to do, and you can always change your mind later. So with that, let's begin. More varied enemy types. Now, in a way, this has already been partially confirmed as we've seen some new enemies like the Zonai constructs and even a Gleeok. It's been years since that. But I'm kind of hoping we get 10 to 20 new and old type of enemies. I do like it when Zelda does go ahead and bring back old enemies, but I do hope that there's a better balance of the new and old type of returning enemies. Like if we do have to have some returns, I kind of can't make up different kinds of enemy types that are just completely brand new. But if I had to bring in any old type of enemies, I would really want to see Redeads from Ocarina of Time, Skulltulas, Wall Masters, heck, even bring Moldorms and Dark Nuts too. I'd also really want to see how varied they can make the boss fights, because again, that was probably one of the things I liked the least about Breath of the Wild back, looking back in retrospect, is the bosses just being kind of elemental different versions of each other. Yeah, their fighting styles are different because of those things, but in a way, they're not varied enough visually that really got my Zelda gears going. Back in past games like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword or even A Link to the Past, when I felt like I got in that boss room, it felt like it was just me and you, and that you is just that terrifying monstrosity. I really want to feel like this monster was dug up from the bowels of Hyrule. Give me something like Goma or Star-Lord, or something that just overall just makes me feel like this is some kind of monstrosity that has to be taken out now. And again, I know bosses and just regular monsters are kind of different, but when I mean more varied enemy types, that goes for both regular enemies that I can just encounter, whether it be in the sky, underground, or just on the surface, alongside the bosses that might be in any of those 3 areas. So that is something that's really important to me personally. Extensive dungeon design. This technically isn't confirmed, but by the look of the trailer, it seems we're returning to Zelda tradition in this department. Now, I know some people, this is kind of a touchy subject, but again, if I had to say the number one thing I was disappointed with Breath of the Wild, it was how they did the dungeons. The Divine Beasts are cool in their own right, and they work for Breath of the Wild, but I will always feel like it would have been better if the insides of those Divine Beasts were structured like traditional Zelda dungeons. I don't think they couldn't have done it. Maybe it makes a little bit less sense, but maybe they could have just wrote it off as being able to ward off intruders that way. Not just anybody's going to be able to get through this dungeon, while the owner of the Divine Beast and the ruler of it would easily just be able to navigate it or get to straight where they need to go to. Whatever they need to say, I think they could have been done better. And in this department, it doesn't seem like we're really going to be tied to Divine Beast this time. I mean, the fact that we see, like I said before, Gleeok in this new trailer just goes to show that we're going to be doing all kinds of crazy stuff and encountering all kinds of bosses. So I feel like the best way to hype us up for whatever might be dug up from the bowels of Hyrule at the end of each of these dungeons is to have some really thought-provoking puzzle design. I'm talking, give me the small keys, let me get the key items, everything that I'm might need to progress smoothly throughout this dungeon. Maybe take on a mini boss, solve this puzzle, move this block, climb to the top of this area, use a hook shot to go here and there. I want something that really tests the limits of what Link is capable of before he really gets there. I felt like the Divine Beast sort of done that, but I feel like with everything Link is actually capable of doing in that game, they could have done far more. So I really want to see how extensive and how far they can push Link's capabilities and the player by extension, with the dungeons this time around. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy that, lowers the accessibility rate of the game itself, but just something that will make me be itching to go back in right after I'm done. That's what I really want from the dungeons of Tears of the Kingdom. More direct character dynamics. Now, I don't necessarily mean Link and Zelda hanging out, talking romance the whole game. I also want characters who are fighting in this world to talk and have their own dynamics with each other for more than just a short time like Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild, it felt like Link's interactions with these other people and stuff were very brief, just to basically get Link into the Divine Beast. And in a way, that's okay. Again, it worked for that game, and doing more than that in Breath of the Wild might have been the wrong decision to make. But now that we're not really in the situation where we need to do that, I don't think there's a reason not to go further with these character interactions with each other. Again, Link is probably one of the more expressive he's been since like Wind Waker in Breath of the Wild, so I feel like they need to push the envelope further with a lot more of the character dynamics. And honestly, I wouldn't even mind if Link was actually given a companion for this time around. Like, I don't think it's too, unlike a Nintendo to have only showed us something that would hide this. Like, say all the gameplay we've seen so far is all from before we get the companion, or maybe they're playing a specific build where the companion has been disabled or silenced or something like that, purely so they don't end up spoiling that. Because again, that's one thing I did really like about Breath of the Wild, the adventure aspect of it. It's just Link and the wild. Everything you encounter, it's you and them. And I love that in Zelda. But at the same time, just having somebody there, even if they don't necessarily have my back in combat, it's just every single companion really felt like they gave me further insight or had my back in some capacity. Midna, Navi, and Fi, regardless of what anybody may feel about them, Fi was always there to give us the data that we needed, or give us some insight into what might be needed to go further into this boss fight. Navi was the exact same way, but was more than willing to chime in about the things about the world or give us a hint to progress forward. Midna, I don't even need to really explain. Midna is one of the most lively companions we've had so far. And even if we did get a companion this time around, I'm not expecting Midna, if I'm being honest. That might be too good for Nintendo to do at this point. And I feel like if they were going to have a Midna level companion, they probably would have been flaunting it already. So I doubt if there really is a companion, it would be at that level. But honestly, I feel like as long as they bring something to the table in their own way without really taking away from what Link sets out to do, I would really love to have a companion in this game. And again, not just a companion, but I'd really love to see Link further interact with the people of this world. Bring me side quests, what seems like it might even actually be doing with Link pulling this trailer to bring all these people around in the trailer. So I'm wondering if that's what they're really kind of implying. But seeing Link interact more with the people of this world and even the important people that we saw in Breath of the Wild, like the champion's descendants and stuff like that, I think that'd be really cool to actually see Link build a relationship with these people. Clarity in its story and lore. Now I know Zelda ain't a series that's all about telling things outright, but giving us everything we need in order to figure it out and executing it in a meaningful way would be perfect to me. I don't want the story to be told through memories that have already happened. I want the story to be more in the now and be able to have a direct effect on its events. I don't necessarily mean to the extent of something like Age of Calamity, but I guess I just want to see Link in the action when it's happening, you know? I don't think that's too much to ask for, and maybe even a bit more clarity about when this game takes place on the timeline. I know it seems to be a lot of things happening, you know, like 10,000 years ago, you know, that we have the actual placement of Breath of the Wild on the timeline. They've kind of just beat around the bush and told us that it takes place so far ahead of everything else that the timeline doesn't really matter, but I also still feel like there's got to be a reason why it seems like the timelines kind of converged in some capacity, so I'd like some clear-cut answers to see when the last Zelda game really took place, you know, because with such a big gap, it kind of opens the series up for what can take place before Breath of the Wild and what can take place after. You know, it was fun being able to really decide, oh, this game must take place in this timeline because, say, this species is here, you know, and this species was only here because, say, the Great Flood happened. It was fun being able to do that, but now that we have so much more freedom, I would like to bring back some more linearity to its lore. I just think that'd be really interesting to see. And last but not least, difficulty that encourages creativity. Breath of the Wild was great at this, but with all the new mechanics this game is starting to add, I feel like the skill ceiling has risen even further, and I didn't even know if that was fully possible. I'm not saying I want the game to be hard per se. More accurately, I want to often be put in scenarios where I'll get off way harsher if I don't come up with some kind of plan that involves using my surroundings in each encounter. Like maybe I need to grab this item and meld that with my weapon real quick and use this to affect something around the environment that kind of takes out the enemies for me. Again, Breath of the Wild did do this, but I really want them to push this even further. I want to see how much further they can really make the player have to really check their environments, because I felt like more often than not, the game didn't really punish you for just going out of your way to take these enemies head on. You know, I felt like earlier on it might have been harder to do that, but it wasn't too difficult to head into a maybe a bit more dangerous area early on into Breath of the Wild, grab a strong weapon or a piece of armor set, and just be able to take on so many more enemies from here on out, you know? So I feel like if they had a way to mitigate that or make that not seem like such a surefire way to handle what's in front of you, then I think everybody would have a bit more fulfilling experience, in my opinion. At least that's just how I might feel with my playthrough. But yeah, that video kind of went on longer than I originally intended. I don't say it a lot, especially since I don't cover it on my channel as much these days, but I love The Legend of Zelda. And if you couldn't tell from this video already, when you get me going with it, I usually just find it hard to stop in some capacity. There's a lot more things to choose from. I could have kept going for this list, but I think it's best if I just kind of keep it down. We still have a little bit time left before Tears of the Kingdom, and if you enjoy this one, and maybe, you know, you'll let me know in the comments, but maybe we can do another video like this. You know, 5 more things I'd love to see in Tears of the Kingdom. But there's so many more Tears of the Kingdom videos I can make before the game comes out. So if you're interested in more Zelda content from me, again, liking the video is the best way to let me know that, and subscribing will make sure you never miss a video of these videos that I do again. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know 5 things in the comments you'd like to see from Tears of the Kingdom. Again, it doesn't matter if it's necessarily been confirmed or not. I don't care if it's, you know, super unlikely. Just let me know 5 things that you just think would be rad to see. But thank you all so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce. Remember, everyone, to play some games, have some fun, and enjoy your day today.